I'm still in shock, but standing here next to this beautiful river in central Japan, I can clearly say I'm living my dream life. During my last year of high school in 2016, I had an inkling of a dream to come to Japan, maybe study abroad, learn Japanese, and live the anime lifestyle. But a year later, in 2017, in my first year of university, I worked 2 part-time jobs while getting my degree and saving up for a trip to Japan. Little did I know that I'd come back changed. I was only in Tokyo for 3 weeks, but ended up coming back with a completely different feeling. I changed not because I had the best trip of my life. I wouldn't even classify it as that. It was really rather tame, to say the least. I spent those 3 weeks in Tokyo just kind of chilling and taking in the aspect of Japan. Just like this. But what changed in me, I couldn't even tell you. I just kind of felt like I was home, oddly enough. Maybe it was the quiet ambiance of Japanese life or how people consider others before themselves. It could even be how food and sweets and teas all resonated with my taste buds. I mean, sweets are never too sweet. Food is very consistent and pretty good everywhere you go. The only thing is that bread is never really bread, but you know, this is the kind of a give and take relationship here, I guess. But I can't really pinpoint what made me feel at home in Japan. I just know it did. I felt at ease. I felt comfortable. I oddly felt loved. Even when I had no command of the Japanese language, there was a comfortable draw that was leading me here, as if I was meant to be here. I didn't know why, but I felt it. I still feel it. And as I left to return back to the place I had grown up in after that first trip, I couldn't help but feel pulled to come back to this sense of home I had, even though technically this home was so foreign to me. After returning back to America, I continued to work part-time for minimum wage while getting my degree and saving up for another trip to Japan. And this next trip would be a longer one that would really help me confirm these feelings. A year later, in the following winter break, I hopped on a plane again and went to Japan for the second time. This time, I would stay with Japanese friends from Osaka that I had met in university. And it was on this trip again that I felt my place. I was home again. I not only got to revisit the places I had been on my original trip to Tokyo, but I got to visit Osaka as well and actually live there for a whole month. Not only did I experience life in Japan on a different level during my time in Osaka, but I felt it too. Thanks to homestaying with my Japanese friends, at the time I felt I had a true experience of living in Japan. From the family dinners, the community events, the road trips, the onsen, the New Year celebrations, I could just go on forever with all the things I experienced during that time. But most of all, it was on this trip that I realized my love for okonomiyaki. In my opinion, the best Japanese food and maybe the best food in the world, but that's just me, I don't know, okay. Eventually, the trip ended and I went back to America to repeat the same steps I did before: study, work, save, so that I could return to Japan once again. And on my third trip to Japan in 2018, I was home again. This would actually be my last trip to Japan before COVID hits. Each time I had went to Japan, my Japanese had gotten better, but I never reached fluency. And you really can't do that in 3 months of traveling. But in the meantime, I did study, I did try hard, but it was never there. Yet, despite that, the challenges never really got in my way. I, despite everything, still wanted to be here. I couldn't tell you what made me feel this way about Japan. It was just on that first trip, it was like a throb in my chest. I don't know. The only way I can describe the feeling is like when I held my puppy for the first time in my hands and she stopped shaking from being afraid and instead bonded with me. Or just like the time when I saw my partner for the first time. It was a feeling like, yes, this is right. And because Japan was such a bigger, riskier move than finding a partner or getting a pet, I had to be sure what I was doing was right. Which is why I did the only logical thing and confirmed my dream. Yeah, I wanted to move and live my life in Japan. Going on those trips was the smartest thing I could have done. Not only did it humble me in my pitiful use of Japanese,
Arigato.
it also showed me what I could expect and how I truly feel about the whole situation I'm moving towards, especially since I would have to give up a lot in order to make this dream come true. I had to confirm that the choices I was making was truly the right ones for myself. But even when I had confirmed what my dream was, I couldn't just walk into Japan and start living there. I had to figure out the requirements of what I needed to do to make my dream come true. I had absolutely no connection to Japan, besides maybe a great-grandfather who was stationed in Tokyo at some point in time, and this seemingly spiritual connection of mine. So I had to figure out what my steps were in order to make this happen. According to my research at the time, there were 2 requirements. 1 was have a university degree. 2 was to have a job. And 3 is to have great luck, but that's kind of a bonus requirement. These requirements are really important to the story, but I'm gonna get back to them at a later time. For now, let's just discuss the third part of my dream. Now let's just discuss the third part of my dream, persistence. I had to have absolute persistence to make this work. I could have listened to all of the people who told me my dream was crazy, or that it didn't make sense, or that America is the #1 country in the world. Why would you want to leave? But why does it matter? To me, it didn't really feel like home. But I just kept going. I studied Japanese. I joined organizations that do Japanese events. I worked jobs that had the potential to put me in touch with Japanese businesses. They never did, but I tried. And I told everyone my dream, and I never stood down from it. To the point where the people who may have tried to stop me from pursuing this dream started to accept it and started to encourage me, and most of all, became happy for me. I learned that when you persist at something that you put your whole heart towards, it tends to rub off on others. I learned that the people who try the most to stop you from fulfilling your crazy dream are often your greatest supporters, especially in the long run. Yeah, my family had the hardest time accepting my dream of moving to Japan and actively rejected it for a while. And they now are incredibly supportive of the decisions I made. I miss them, I miss spending time with my puppy, and I'm missing all this great time with my grandparents that I have. But my grandfather did the same thing when he was 19 and left Italy for a better life in America. Now, I'm not escaping poverty, but I did leave to have a better life for myself. And similar to him, I also had to leave a lot behind. There seems to always be sacrifices you have to make in order to fulfill a dream. And in my experience, dreams don't come true unless you make those sacrifices. And for what you give up, what you receive in turn may not be comparable, but it sure is incredibly fruitful. At some point in 2020, I was finishing my degree and I was applying for jobs in Japan. But at the beginning of 2021, I had graduated with a degree in digital art, of all things. And throughout the majority of 2021 in the pandemic, I awaited for jobs to come through, applying for others and waiting until eventually the acceptance letter came. And I actually got the job that I wanted. And most of all, fulfilling the 3 requirements I needed to get into Japan. Woo! Including the luck part. Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit lucky. Afterwards, I made my preparations, did my rounds, and said goodbye to my family as I was leaving in October of 2021. And then, in October 25th, I walked through the immigration gates of Japan. Even though it was a grueling 4-hour process in the airport, after a 14-hour direct flight straight to Japan, in the middle of COVID, I made it through though, and I was really happy. 2 years later though, moving to Japan was not without its stress and hardships and barrier after barrier, even when I was already in the country. And after going through it all, and I have tons of stories that would make you think, why would I even stay in Japan? I persisted. I continued to keep my resolve like I did from the very beginning. And now I'm standing here and I can just tell you so clearly, I'm happy. I made it. This may be a random spot in Japan right now that I'm filming because it's out of the way from where people are like moving and I don't want to be in the way or anything, but this is where I feel so happy right now doing this video. I can't help but feel overwhelmed with this re-coming together of my story of coming here. Even in this moment, I've been here over 2 years. My camera died. And yet, I'm still happy. Okay, change of scenery. And now I'm here in my living room with my partner, Ayame. Hi.
Hi.
Nice. And I'm happier than I've ever been. I now use Japanese every day like it's second nature. Ayame. 晩ご飯どうする？
ご飯何しようか。
どうしよう？何食べたい？
わからない。何がいい？
お好み焼き。
いつもだね。
I go on bike rides just to go to the grocery store or daily shopping or just to go see the scenery. I go for walks late at night and I never have to look over my shoulder. It's quiet all the time. There's never any neighbors blasting music at all crazy hours. There's pretty much consistently good food everywhere you go, and there's a convenient train system to take you there. I even have free fast internet in my apartment. Wow. And in Japan, there's just amazing sceneries, landscapes, culture, architecture, everywhere you go. But of course, Japan isn't without faults, and there's a lot of things that I dislike, all the plastic everywhere. But it doesn't take away from what I love about the country and what I love about being here. Most of all, this place is my home. And even despite the sacrifice of leaving my family and friends and loved ones 6,000 miles away, a 14-hour time difference. Despite all that, I'm still really happy. I have no regrets, and that's it. And I hope that you, whoever's watching, if you have a dream that you really wish to pursue, I hope that you're able to find the courage to do so. Just make sure that that dream is true to you. Good luck. Thank you. Bye, Ayame.
Bye.
こんにちは、すいません。
何してるんですか？
あ、YouTube のビデオです。はい、すいません。I keep having to move the camera a little bit because people kind of use this road and I'm trying not to be in the way. I chose a very secluded spot, but it's still a little bit busy at 12:40 in the afternoon. Also lots of bugs.